Hey, everybody, and welcome to the HERstory Collaborative. My name is Jen Buck, and I'm your host here in the collab. I'm all about advocating, activating, and amplifying high-performing women. And that's what the HERstory Collaborative is all about. Trailblazing women who are changing their little corner of the world. Now, my next guest is Chioma Ossai. Chioma is the author of A Journey to Self-Love, which explores concepts of softness, vulnerability, and sensuality. Her poetry is often centered around themes of identity and authenticity, challenging what it means to know and love oneself. She was born and raised in New Jersey and is currently based in Berlin, Germany. Her mission is to simply tell inviting stories through poetry, music, and blogging with the hope to evolve, share, and inspire others to write stories of their own. She also received her Bachelor of Music at Montclair State University in music education and is a classically trained pianist. Her passion for storytelling became evident after she had the opportunity to travel to Ghana to study traditional Western African music and began documenting her experiences through writing. She has traveled to over 17 countries, and from her colorful narratives captured through poetry, has created a space to evolve artistically with her followers, as well as inspire the world through her stories. So, oh my gosh, this is so exciting for me because I just adore you. Welcome to the collab, Chioma.
Thank you so much, Jen, for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You are so impressive. And, we've really only had our sort of lines cross, if you will, as we've been walking through the social media streets. I've heard you play and sing. I have been, of course, someone who's followed you and watched you on social media. But when I got your bio, I just thought, holy cow, this woman is so incredibly talented. And your poetry, I've actually read your book twice. So moving.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. So moving. I have favorites, and I'm just so impressed with you. So tell me a little bit. Let's just start with what inspired you to write the book? Let's start there, and then we can just sort of tease this out as we go.
Yes. So, I've been writing poetry for a while now. And to be honest, I would say my friends and my family, especially my mom, kind of anchored me and being able to share my story with others. And so they kind of were really the inspiration that pushed me to put these stories out here. And I'd say that, along with the combination of, Corona
Yeah.
and having this time to really reflect and really look at my stories as something that is not just for me, but also to help inspire and encourage other people.
Mhm.
And like I said, to write their own stories.
Yeah.
And I think after really taking the time to reflect and write these stories, I think when I started to kind of get emotional,
Mhm.
when I started putting my stories together, and I would get emotional every time I would read it.
Mm.
That was my cue that it's time to share. It's time
Yeah.
to get out in the world. And
Yeah.
I was very grateful to have the support of my friends and family that encouraged me to do that as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
loved the authenticity, the transparency,
Mhm.
your willingness to be sensual
Mhm.
and tired and sad.
Yeah.
I appreciated that so much because I felt like, okay, first I'll tell you what I felt. Holy
Yeah.
cow, she knows me. And I bet you've heard that from others because it really is so touching. Like I could relate to so much that you were writing, right? But
Yeah.
then the other side of it was I thought, she's so brave. You're
Thank you.
so brave to put this out there. I think about like surrender
Mhm.
and rest. I don't know why, but rest stirred my soul.
Oh, yay.
I probably read that one about 8 times, if I'm honest, because I just had to slow everything down because it has a good vibe is the best way I could put it. Like it has a good beat to it
Rhythm.
as you're reading it. But I had to really slow and I thought, oh my gosh, like access. I mean, it's just, there are so many. So
Wow,
let's talk
thank
about
you.
this
Yes,
because you
yes.
really moved me. And I also
Oh,
think
thank you.
you're incredibly brave.
Thank you so much. Oh, that means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. So,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite? Is that a weird thing for me to ask you?
No, not at all. I definitely would say my favorite and the one that resonates with me now, is Home.
Mm,
My last poem, Home.
yeah.
And I relate to this so much because I am living away from home,
Mm,
and I'm living abroad in Germany, and I've been there for a year and a half. And being away from home has really made me appreciate, you know, all of the things that remind me of home.
mhm,
You know what I mean? And so just I mean everything, the culture differences, the language, the quality time I was sharing with my family, and being away from that and not having that really made me miss it. Truly,
mhm.
truly,
Yeah.
truly miss it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I kind of wrote that poem as a reminder to myself that even though I'm not home, I can still find little things that remind me of it. I
Yeah.
can still, have these pictures or have, journals or writings that about my family. I can
Yeah.
still, you know, burn a candle that reminds me of the scent of home. I can still
Mhm.
do all of these things to bring a little bit of home to
Yeah.
wherever I am, you
Yeah.
know? Especially the last line, I leave home just to come back to it.
Mm.
That's kind of exactly how I'm feeling. I left home and I'm actually moving, back at the end in July, which I haven't even publicly announced that yet. Some
Yeah.
people do know.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll be moving back, and there's some other kind of like cool things coming up about the next place I'll kind of be moving to. But I actually temporarily came back home. Like right now I'm back in the States, and I did that because I needed home. I
Mhm.
needed to go back for my
Yeah.
own mental peace and clarity. And so yeah, I think that's probably definitely my favorite.
I love it. I love it. Was there a really strategic placement of where you put these
Mhm.
poems? And because I felt like I would read one and then you'd have one of the little ones, right?
Yes,
At
yes.
like Queen, like you'd have these.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And I felt like I was, for lack of a better term, I felt like an experience, like, oh
Wow.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like I felt like I was in this sort of like, I
Yeah.
don't know, rhythm is the best
Yeah.
way I can put it because it felt rhythmic to me. And I don't know if that was very purposeful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I kind of structured it that way, and had, these kind of poems in mind, even before writing some of them, had in mind the theme and what I wanted it to represent.
Yeah.
And so absolutely that was the goal, is to kind of bring my reader through this journey.
Yeah.
And starting with the first thing that we look at, right, is ourselves, is our beauty, and starting with that, and then kind of putting us on this journey of, which really what it's called, right, a journey to self-love, putting on this
Yeah.
journey of what it means to define self-love, what it means to put yourself first, and then kind of ending with what I found, to be the most valuable and the most meaningful is the idea of home, right? Because everybody wants to feel like they belong. Everybody wants to feel loved and feel supported and have their community, and so that's also part of being loved, and contributing to self-love, because when you know or feel love from others, it makes it that much easier to continue to love and invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I absolutely wanted to kind of take these readers on a journey. And so each one was very kind of carefully structured, and the titles were carefully structured,
Mhm.
on purpose. So yeah, and I'm glad you kind of were able to experience that as well.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And like I said,
Right.
I read it twice. And the first time I went through it sort of rhythmically and just sort of taking it and going and letting it all be. But then
Right.
the second time I went through, I really would stop and
Mm.
get into the depth of the words, the feeling, the sharing, the just what was being expressed. So, and I'm not normally someone who leans into poetry. I think because it never
Yeah.
feels progressive is not the word. It never
Mhm.
feels current enough.
Mm.
And I now I can't think of her name. Darn it. I hate when this happens and I've got a great poet and it doesn't come to me. There's a poet out right now and she was the first one that I started reading recently and I thought, "Whoa,
Yeah.
okay, here we go." But
Yeah.
my I guess story in my head about poetry was very old. So
Mhm.
this new poet got me enjoying it again and really loving it. And then a friend of mine has a sister who has like poetry contests and things like that. And so they gave me the poetry to read. Again, I was like, oh, wow. So when I read yours, I didn't have the block that I'd had for years
Mhm.
and years. And I really allowed myself to sort of ride it, the
Oh,
first time and then dig. And I just loved it. I just really, really loved what you've created. So
thank you.
yeah. So when does it actually come out? Like what's the plan on that?
Yes, so the official release day is March 8th.
Mhm.
And it's currently now out and available for pre-order
Yeah.
in both ebook and
Awesome.
the paperback is also available. So and it's on Amazon. So I'm excited, so excited for
Yes.
for you guys to read this work and to experience it, right? In kind of like a way that you did or in their own way. So but
Yeah.
yes, it's available on Amazon now.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, and it's an ebook and paperback.
And I'll be sure to make sure that everything is linked so that people can
Yeah.
find it easily and all of that. So I would love to dive a little bit into your background in music, and by the way, I just had sort of this moment where I just realized that's probably what I was feeling when you were
Mm.
writing because of your connection to music. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I
Mhm.
wonder if that's what I sort of was feeling, or if that was even a part of it, or maybe that's what poetry is,
Wow.
is that movement that I never realized. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your background in music. That's really impressive.
Yes, so I started playing piano when I was about 9.
Mhm.
And I originally learned by ear,
Wow.
and my mother was the one that encouraged me to play. She was the one that actually introduced me to it. And it originally was just for fun, and to just help me also like focus in school because she did her
Yeah.
own research and found that, oh, this, playing music would help focus in school because I was
Yeah.
very much one of those students that,
Mhm.
was energetic. And so
Yeah.
this kind of helped me to focus. And she kind of realized that, oh, like I actually have a gift at this. And so, we started taking piano lessons. I started taking, you know, traditional like lessons weekly. And I actually started with classical. I actually started
Very
really,
cool.
really developed this love for classical music.
Yeah.
And so my teachers were always joke because they're like, most students, especially during that time, you know, I mean, like modern world, right? Most
Yeah.
students wanted to learn pop songs and wanted to
Sure.
learn, all the now music
Mhm.
of the year of the time. And I was like, no, I want to learn Beethoven. I want to learn,
Wow.
I remember seeing one of these pieces being played in a movie or something. And, it was a young girl that looked like me. And I was like, I want to learn that, and it
Mhm.
was a classical piece. And so that was kind of where I started my path. And then I continued in high school. Believe it or not, I was actually debating between going to school for music and going to school for nursing. And
Wow.
that's
Oh
a
my
whole
gosh,
nother
that's
story.
two totally different sides of the brain. That's so interesting.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I took a class and that dealt with, you know, medicine, and I was like, nah, this is not really and so, I was encouraged by my family, my mom, to do what I loved, which was music.
Yeah.
And I got a different teacher my senior year, and that teacher that year helped me to prepare for auditions, and I got in, and I started, doing my music career, and started that pathway. And so
Yeah.
ever since I've continued, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
Yeah.
remarkable
And
to
so
me that something that came so naturally to you, that you found so much joy in, then becomes something that on this level you get to do this for the rest of your life. Like, it's your education. It's
yeah. Yeah.
and that must feel like such a gift, because I think I've got a little bit of that in my own way. Like, I was a super chatty kid. Now I get to be a professional speaker for a living. Like,
Yes.
that's really kind of cool too. But like, every door just opens for you with
Yeah.
something that was just this wonderful natural ability. And I just think it's really amazing. It's
Thank
just
you.
really amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful, that I get to do something that I love, and I get to be in music. Um, and so even after graduating, like I said, I went into teaching. And at some point also, which they don't really talk about as much, but it can be a very competitive field,
Yeah.
especially in the world of classical. And so there was a point where I didn't feel like I was playing for myself. And that's a whole nother journey,
Mm,
right? That I had to learn. That's why I was considering the nursing field.
okay.
That was a whole journey that I had to kind of, I guess, overcome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is to also play for myself, and know that I'm worthy and capable of being in that space,
Yeah.
you know? And so going through that process, I've also learned that now when I do create, I have to put myself in mind first.
Hmm.
Yes, I want to use this to help inspire other people, but I also want to do it for myself,
Yeah.
and so learning to play for myself and create poetry for myself.
Mhm.
Even if no one reads it, even if no one listens, it's just
Mhm.
for me first.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a very healing journey in a
Yeah.
way, to go through that.
I would imagine. Now, my background with, you know, specifically working in the hard conversation space, having these discussions around, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and talking about these conversations that are really challenging. They are scary for a lot of people, but so necessary that we get this right. And I would imagine that, much like so many of these different, you know, areas of leadership, areas of art, areas of power,
Yeah.
I think that we have a very white system in place. And I would
Mm.
imagine that going into the classical music
Yeah.
space would have been very, very traditionally white, much like we're
Mhm.
luckily finally starting to see this change with the
Mhm.
arts, ballet, again,
Yeah.
poetry, music. We're starting to see things change, but it's been too slow of a change. And I imagine that you felt some of that when you were going to school.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in my department alone, I think there was maybe two of us that were, people of color,
Mhm.
in the classical music department for piano
Mhm.
specifically. And so, and the other student that was also a black classical pianist, we would have conversations all the time about this, and
Yeah,
people
of
often assume that he was in jazz or a saxophone player.
course.
There's those stereotypes, of course. And it's like, no, we are both classical pianists, you
Mhm.
know and we deserve to be in those spaces.
That's right.
And so there were, of course, times where I kind of went through that whole imposter syndrome, like, am I really meant to be here? Do I fit
Mhm.
in? Because there's often lack of representation in this
Yeah.
field, and it's has such a long history, and not many of those other classical composers are honored in
Mhm.
that space. A
Okay.
lot of times you are playing music by the same, composers that we all know of, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, that they're great
Mhm.
composers. But then also it took me time to honor and do research on composers of color,
Mhm.
that have really shaken the classical music space.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, definitely in that, I mean, there's definitely times where I did feel out of place, but it took me, time and research to realize that no, I do deserve to be here, and I
Mhm.
worked hard to be in this space, and
Yeah.
to honor that, and try to encourage also my students that I have that are, whether they're German and Black or just, from African descent, they're part of that diaspora. So it's like
Yeah.
encouraging them also to be in those spaces,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm encouraged that we're starting to see more acknowledgement
Yeah.
in the arts and education. Again, when we look at the power structure, we're starting to see things shift. And when I look at, how far we still have to go, obviously that's daunting and exhausting, and it's a big fight. But I'm curious what you would say to young women, young Black women who are stepping into the arts, because now not only are you working at this extraordinary level as a musician, a teacher of other musicians, you're now in the 2% of the world who's has a published work book, right?
Mhm.
I mean, these are huge things. And I wonder what you would tell young Black girls and women who are stepping into these spaces for the first time. What would you tell them about navigating, about pushing through?
Mhm.
What would your advice be?
And right, even before I say that, I think the best reference, right, is to go back to that quote in my book, Queen: "When someone forgets who you are, remind them."
Yeah.
Step into that space regardless and remind them why you're there.
Yeah.
And so for any young girl who is out there looking to be in those spaces, I would encourage them to go out there and create, right? And demand that respect, because you are valued and you're worthy of being in that space, and you are there for a reason.
Mm.
And to never forget that,
Yes. Yeah.
to never forget that. Remind them why you're there.
Hmm.
I think that
Beautiful.
would be the best advice to give and to say.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that we're in a place right now in the world where the internet information is king, like, period, right? Like, we're talking about stuff that's been hidden forever now. We are pulling up, facts and stories and biographies, and we're getting to see who invented what and
Yeah.
who wrote what and what happened in certain communities. Like, truth is bubbling up right now, and I think we need to somehow flip the script on this to make sure that it is understood, it is heard, credit is given where it's due, and acknowledgement of past heinous crimes
Yes.
comes in, the form of not guilt, not shame, but just pure acknowledgement and
Right.
better behaviors moving forward, a commitment to the agreements, right? The life agreements that we share as human beings here. And I feel the information bubbling up. That's the best way I
Yeah.
can put it.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting time to be alive, to hear, like you said, who the other composers were,
Yeah.
who, you know, invented certain things, who really wrote things that were actually given, that were a pen name, but given credit to someone else. There's so much that's
Yes.
coming up. So,
Right. And there's also new um books and new documentaries that are capturing this information and kind of telling these stories.
mhm.
That is what's kind of the amazing thing about it, you know, is that
Yeah,
new books are being written,
yeah,
right? And
right.
history is being told through a different perspective, through a different lens.
Yeah,
And it is really beautiful to see. It really is, to for these people to be honored.
yes.
And one of the great composers that I loved and played also during my time in college was Florence Price, who
Mhm.
was a Black female composer.
Okay.
And one of her pieces, Symphony in E minor, was played by the Chicago Symphony.
Oh, wow.
And it's beautiful to also see people like her and her work be exposed and be played by well-known orchestras,
Mhm.
because I remember in college looking for that piece, and
Mm.
the process I had to go through to get her composition. It wasn't available like online. I couldn't just go and purchase it. I had to go through actually a well-known um, library in Chicago that is dedicated to Black compositions and Black research,
Mhm.
and buy her manuscript, like her original
Wow.
manuscript, get it transcribed, and
Wow.
then play it. It was a whole process. So I'm really glad to see that there's more information
Yeah.
on these amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's an exciting time,
Yeah,
and I always tell people, that are kind of doing this work with me, the excitement is awesome, but
yeah,
that's also an indicator that there are going to be growing pains that are a part of this.
yeah,
And as we start moving towards change, the growing pains start to pop up. And that's usually when people get to a place where they don't want to do the work. It gets too hot, in the kitchen and all of that. So I hope we can all just stay in this space of awareness and collaboration and move forward to make sure that all the right things are acknowledged and worked on and fixed, so
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I would love to transition with you and ask you some speed round questions if you're cool with that. And any word that comes to mind, it kind of gives us an idea of who you are and outside of sort of what we've been talking about. And so I'm just going to throw them at you. Is that good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. All right. So who is your favorite woman in history that if you were given like an hour to sit with this person, who would you choose?
Maya Angelou.
Number one answer. Number one answer. And by the way, she is one of them that I've been able to go back. I learned when I was a child about Maya Angelou and went, in both high school and college. And I've gone back since then. And now I get the get. Like I get it. Whereas as
Wow.
a kid, it didn't, I understood the high level, but that woman was a gift
Yeah.
to this earth. So
Yeah. And fun fact, I actually got to meet her. Uh,
what?
yeah, I know. Well,
What?
my first year, I was actually at Kane University,
Yeah.
and I don't know how, but they got her to speak, and I got to see her and have like these little recordings. I think my mom recorded it on her phone. I have to get it,
Yeah.
of her speaking, and I got to see her before she passed away, and it was just breathtaking. It was
Oh, I
just,
can't imagine.
I can't even put in words. It was just, it was a gift. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. And I'll tell you that I understand the impact that she's had even more because this is the answer that comes up easily 70% of the time when I'm
Yeah.
speaking to women. I mean, the resonance and the impact, it's overwhelming how many people say Maya Angelou. So
Really.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question. What's your favorite place that you've ever been?
Oh God. Um, just anywhere, or travel wise, or
Travel wise, any, and I know that home is your favorite place,
yeah, of course,
but if you were to say that you have a favorite place to travel to or that you've visited.
Ghana.
Oh, nice.
Definitely Ghana.
Nice. I had a chance to spend a month in Kenya and Uganda.
Oh.
I've never seen more beautiful dirt, beautiful
Mm,
plants, and beautiful sky. And of
mhm.
course, beautiful people, because I came home saying, what is wrong with Americans? What is wrong with Americans? The welcoming nature of Africans, at least in those two countries, Kenyans and Ugandans,
Yeah.
especially Uganda. I was so blown away. Can you relate to that at all? The red dirt, the
Yeah.
the green
I
plants
felt
and the
at
blue
home.
sky.
I felt at home. I mean, there
Mm.
was no difference between someone who's Ghanaian and me. I mean, I felt so at home, and a lot of people thought I was from, like, when I was actually there were many people who were like, you're from here. And my name is Nigerian, you know, so they're neighbors practically. You know, Nigeria and Ghana are really not that far apart.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they heard my name, they just, I mean, they're like, oh, you're one of us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
even before that, but definitely after I said my name, they're like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was embraced, I was welcomed, and it was, yeah, probably one of the best experiences I had. Definitely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I was just in a chat, a panel, listening in on a panel, and Dr. Joy DeGruy was there, and she's written some extraordinary books in the world of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she was talking about, as a Black woman, going back to her native family's land, and only, being an adult, being like in her 40s, and never have experiencing this. And when she got there, gives me goosebumps, and actually the tears are stinging right now.
Oh.
When she got there, they said to her, "We've been waiting for you." And she was confused, and they said, "We know who you are, and we know your aunt, and we know your mother and your grandmother. That's her best friend. And we remember the last day I mean, I was literally like a mess, thinking that the clans and the tribes and the communities were also so devastated. 400 years ago, they left behind were devastated too. The impact of the pain is deep. Our epigenetics, these ancestral lines, it's deep stuff.
Yeah, it is, and separating those families, separating those tribes and those cultures. I mean, it was very strategic.
Yeah.
It was very strategic,
Yeah.
because when you separate and you divide, you conquer, right?
That's
And
right.
so when you're able to stand together and unite, that is a force to be reckoned with. And I think we are seeing that. We're seeing people starting to go back home, starting to really support and uplift each other in the community. And, like I said, it's really kind of a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Healing to go back home,
Mhm.
to go to your roots,
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Beauty in
Totally
that.
agree.
Yeah.
What's your favorite book or podcast? One or the other. It doesn't have to be both.
Um, that's a tough question. I would have to say, oh, this is so hard. Okay. Can I count yours as my favorite podcast?
You're so funny.
Um,
Sure. That's
yes,
an easy answer.
that's okay. I would say favorite book. I mean, I keep going back to Maya Angelou, but she's so impactful. Her words are so impactful. So I would definitely say I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya
Love
Angelou.
it.
One of my first,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
books to read by her, and just her words and her poetry, and
Yeah.
resonated with me so much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many favorites and so many favorite authors, but I'll stick to that.
Okay. Beautiful answer, though. Beautiful. What is one quirky or wacky fact about you that maybe not a lot of people know?
I can like crack my fingers, but it'll like crack forever and ever and ever.
Oh,
So
you don't
like,
just get one pop and you're done?
yeah, like it'll keep cracking. It'll go
I
on
hear it.
forever.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Wow. That's got to have something to do with the dexterity and
Right?
the movement.
Maybe.
Has to be.
Maybe.
Has to be. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. My jaw pops. So ever since I was a kid, I
Really?
have the jaw popping. So when I'm eating, if you're next to me, you're like, will you
You'll-
stop? Because it's just pop, 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 pop,
Yeah,
pop.
yeah.
So annoying. But it's
My
me,
body's
what we
just,
get.
yeah, yeah.
All right. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
To heal. And
Oh,
maybe
oh my
not
God.
necessarily superpower. Maybe that's actually something I can do. Um, but yeah, to heal. To heal. Sorry, my computer's like
Beautiful. No, you're good. Beautiful answer. Beautiful. And if you had a theme song when walking on stage, what would it be?
Jill Scott Golden. That's it. That's my alarm clock too.
Nice. Nice.
Jill
Okay. Love,
Scott.
love, love Jill Scott. My gosh. Yes. Okay. And what is the best word to describe you?
Hmm. Oh, wow. Heartfelt.
Hmm.
Heartfelt. I think I have this extreme connection with emotions and being able to feel emotions, and a level of sensitivity that I've now considered a strength that I didn't always. Um, so yeah, because of that, I would consider myself heartfelt.
I receive that and I validate that. That's beautiful.
Mm.
Beautiful. So last one, finish this sentence for me. When I'm really, really old, I hope to see.
When I'm really, really old, I hope to see. Does it just have to be one word, or it can?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I hope to see my legacy be passed down to my kids, my kids' kids, um, and that they are able to be and embody love and peace.
Mm-hmm.
That they're truly at peace and feel loved.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
Me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Chioma, where can people find you? I know that they're going to be feeling what I am. You've given me goosebumps like 5 times in the last 30 minutes.
Oh,
So, yeah. So, tell me where people can find you.
yes. So you can find me on social media, especially my Instagram, which is underscore becoming chi, becoming and then CHI. I also have my website, chiomaossai.com. So that's, I don't know if I should spell it out or if I should just give that.
I'll make sure it's in the show notes. How's that?
Okay, yes. So
Yeah.
chiomaossai.com is my website. And you could subscribe to my site to kind of be up to date, because there's also some things that I send out to my subscribers that I don't always post on social media, that I kind of want to give them that extra benefit. So you can subscribe to my website, and I'll be updating you on upcoming events, products, um, wellness tips. I'll actually be starting a newsletter that specifically is giving practice sheets, tips, and just wellness, tips to anyone who needs it, who wants it. Um, and so that will just be, once you subscribe, you'll be able to receive those.
Yeah.
And then yeah, my social media is pretty much the same across the board. So Twitter has also become Chi, which those are the kind of the biggest places that I'm on. Yeah.
And tell us one more time where they can get the pre-sale orders of your
Yes.
book. March
So
8th, right?
yeah, Journey to Self-Love will be released officially March 8th on Amazon. It's available now on Amazon to pre-order in ebook and paperback form. And also, if you have already gotten it, for those that have maybe already seen it, I would love, to hear your thoughts, and you can write a review on Amazon as well. Yeah, and just kind of share it so that way this story can also reach other people.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'll also be having some upcoming festivities. So one of the biggest things that I really wanted to do outside of this book is to host a workshop, and I'll be hosting a free workshop in the spring. The date isn't chosen yet, but it will be happening in the spring, and this workshop will be focusing on some of the concepts in the book. And so each poem will kind of represent or have this concept or practice worksheet around the poem.
Yeah.
And so we'll kind of be diving in specifically in ways that we can practice self-love, practice self-care, but also not just practicing it, but then using it to help us manifest,
Mm,
the life that we want to live, and help us manifest our goals. It'll be kind of centered, like I said, around the ideas or the poems of the book.
loved.
Um,
I'm big, big into manifesting and
yeah, Yes.
using that also not just for my own goals, but to impact what is happening in the world at large. And I do this regularly. I write the words that I want to see the world become, and I will stop whenever I see sort of the multiples in numbers, looking at my watch, it'll be 10, 10, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1. I will stop and look at my list because I feel like I need to be in intention.
Yes.
And if that is, toward my immediate community, the geopolitical world at large, community, I stop and I put that intention there because I feel like we get so busy that we don't realize how powerful the ability to manifest is.
Yes.
And I love that you're going to be doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then just kind of going back to what you were saying about, kind of sometimes we feel the heaviness and the weight of all these things, like all everything that's kind of coming to the surface, right?
Yeah.
And so I want this workshop to also be used as a way to find ways to cope with this and find ways to kind of release some of that heaviness, right?
Yeah.
Because part of practicing self-love is also using tools and implementing tools that are going to help you take care of your wellness, your mind, and your body, and also being able to find ways to release that negative energy or tension, right? Because it has to go somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I think once kind of going over these tools, which we'll go over in the workshop, once we're able to kind of release that, then we create more space for all of the positive things that are meant to be there,
Yeah.
and we can find a way to process these traumas or process these experiences, so that way we can just live an overall healthier, confident life,
Yeah.
mentally and physically.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it. You
goal.
just may see me in that workshop because yeah, listen, I'm on the chi train. So I'm
Aw,
all aboard, and I just think you are magnificent. And any way that I can support you and the really impactful and meaningful work you're doing, I'm in. So yeah, make sure that I know what's going on so I can sign up. And if it's spring, that's awesome. Would love to be a part of it.
Yes, and I would love for you to also be there as well. And like I said, if you go on my website, chiomaossai.com, for those that are interested, just subscribe, and I will be sending updates and details on these upcoming events, on the workshop. You'll be able to get access to that.
Yay. Okay. I will do that when we're done here for sure. So everybody, before we go, I want to make sure that I give a quick acknowledgement to the sponsor of this show. If it weren't for them, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. So our podcast and webcast and television show sponsor is Lillian Sue with In Retrospect Writing and PR Services. Now, Lillian's a longtime PR coach and publicist, and she's focused on empowering creative entrepreneurs to reach their full potential and become global industry leaders. We all know we want more media. We want more, sort of thought leadership acknowledgement. And that's what she does through her strategic and personalized coaching program and in-depth PR course. She is able to help people create a strong and healthy PR mindset and gain the confidence to launch their own successful PR campaigns. So she believes that education is the key to empowerment, and helping creative entrepreneurs achieve worldwide recognition and brand awareness is her goal. So if you're interested in connecting with Lillian Sue, you will find her at inretrospectwritingservices.com. And if you're looking for me, you know that I'm at jenbuckspeaks.com, and you can find Chioma at Chioma Ossai. Did I say that right?
Chioma Ossai.
Ossai, Ossai, correct?
Yep.
Yay. .com. So please connect with any and all of us. We would love to bring you into the fold and work with you in any way that would serve you. So Chioma, you're amazing. Thank you for spending time with me.
You are as well. Just such a light. And thank you again for having me here. It was so fun.
You bet, my friend. And I'm glad you're home, and I'm glad you're safe. So until next time.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. See you later, everybody.